So, we are starting chapter 3 of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's titled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So, what do you think is being presented in chapter 3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam? Avataras, a list of avatars, a catalog of avatars? No, it is not that simple. Chapter 3 is giving us a philosophical map of reality. It's a complete view of reality. What is reality? And we will see that this chapter is going to present how does Bhagwan relate to his creation? What is the interaction and connection between Bhagwan and Prakṛti? Then we'll see how do divine forms, avatars, how do they appear in this material realm without becoming material? Next, we'll also see how this whole world is governed. Is there a regulation, control, governance behind this creation? Yes, there is. How is it done? And finally, we will see how Krishna is identified as Swayam Bhagwan. Okay. So if you see this chapter 3 is beginning not with a list of avatars. It is going to first teach us about the puruṣa-avatāras. That is the first 5 verses of this chapter are going to present puruṣa-avatāras. We have discussed briefly what are puruṣa-avatāras? Lord with his material potencies. Now, what is when we talk about Lord in reference to his creation, that is the material potency of the Lord. When there has to be creation, maintenance, and destruction, who is going to do that? Swayam Bhagwan Sri Krishna doesn't do that. His expansions in the form of these puruṣa-avatāras, they are going to do that. They are also, puruṣa-avatāras are 3. You're going to see them in detail. So it is basically, you should think of puruṣa-avatāras as Krishna in relation to matter. Krishna doesn't come in touch with matter. How does Krishna relate to matter? Through the puruṣa-avatāras. So we are going to see, before discussing which avatar comes when. So that is divine intervention. But before seeing the history of divine interventions, which avatar takes place when, Srimad Bhagavatam is first explaining that what is the cause of this creation itself. First, we are discussing the cause behind the cosmos. Then we will come to the different avatars. So it is beginning with divine causality. Very important. Because there is a divine cause, there is a divine purpose to this cosmos or creation. So it is all very purposeful. It is all very meaningful. So let us read the first verse. Suta uvacha jagre paurusham rupam Bhagavān mahadadivihi sambhutam shodashakalam adav lokas shaya. Suta said, in the beginning of creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universe. Okay, so we first talk of the Lord's puruṣa-avatāras, the 3 puruṣa-avatāras. Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. They are the puruṣa-avatāras. They are the cause of creation. So the very first verse is presenting the idea of creation is not accidental. It is not by chance. Nor is it happening by itself. It is not self-originating, as some people claim. And we discussed in the previous chapter how by presenting the Lord as a person with agency, we saw it was refuting 30th verse of chapter 2. Sa evedam sassarjagre. We saw how it refutes Vaisheshika, atomism, and how it refutes Buddhism. Atomism says the building blocks of creation, the molecules, they were always existing, they're eternal. We say no. From Krishna came these molecules. They were not existing before Krishna. Or Buddhism says that there is no reality, it's a moment-to-moment reality. We say no, the Lord is the creator. He is the cause of Sad Asad Rupaya Cha. All cause and effects are in him. So unless there is a foundation, how will moment-to-moment change have any meaning? There has to be a continuity to give meaning to the momentary reality. So the same thing is being presented here, that creation did not happen by itself. Matter is not independent. Mahat Tattva, which we are going to discuss. Mahat Tattva includes the elements, the senses, the entire structure of the cosmos. How is Mahat Tattva coming? It is coming from the glance of the Lord, the will of the Lord. So first thing is to understand the cause of creation, not accidental, not self-originating. Matter is not independent. Everything is happening by the will of the Lord. Yeah, so here the purport is presenting that how Prakṛti has no independent creative capacity without the Purusha. Okay, so Prakṛti cannot independently create anything. It requires the intervention of the Purusha, and that happens through the glance, the drishti. So here Srila Prabhupada says that in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord states that he's maintaining these material universes by extending plenary expansions. So Purusha is a plenary expansion of the Lord. The puruṣa-avatāras, the three Vishnus, they are the plenary expansion. Expansion means coming from Krishna. Plenary means having the same power. So, but they are different from Bhagavān Krishna or Vasudeva. Yeah. Bhagavān is Shad Aishwarya Purn. But the Purusha feature is not the Bhagwan form of the Lord, but the Paramatma form of the Lord. You remember we discussed that when you realize the absolute truth without its material and spiritual potencies, that is Brahman realization. When you realize the absolute truth only with its material potencies, that is Paramatma realization. What are material potencies? Creation, maintenance, destruction. How does the Lord do this? That is all coming under the category of material potencies. So when you realize absolute truth only with material potencies, you are reaching Paramatma realization. And only when you realize the absolute truth with its material as well as its spiritual potencies, then you are reaching the complete realization. So when we are discussing these puruṣa-avatāras, what feature are they? Are they Bhagwan? No, they are Paramatma feature. Paramatma feature is also Vishnu Tattva. It is also Ishwar, but it is not Bhagwan. So we have to be very specific, with terminology. When should we use Bhagwan? When should we use Paramatma? Both are Ishvara only, but Bhagwan has completeness. Okay, so the three Purusha features are, we discussed these three Vishnu. In fact, in Ishopanishad, Srila Prabhupada mentions that the yogi is advised that once the yogi crosses the material coverings of the universe, the yogi should aspire to meet these three Vishnus. Because the yogi is meditating on Paramatma. This is the Paramatma the yogis are meditating upon. So this material world is created and destroyed. What is the lifespan of this material manifestation, the lifespan of Brahmaji, which is his 100 years. And this creation and destruction is done by the supreme will of the Lord. Why does creation happen in the first place? What do you think? Hmm? If there is no creation, there will be no Vishnu Tattva only. There will be no puruṣa-avatāras. So why is creation there in the first place? What do you think? Any guesses? What is the
Prabhuji,
name?
is it because the soul rebels and they want to enjoy independently, trying to lord it over the nature, material nature?
Yeah, so the soul rebels. Okay, so what happens?
So
How do
then,
you relate it to creation of material cosmos?
because it wants to enjoy separately with the Lord and have its
Hmm.
own kingship, so the
Right,
material world is created.
correct. The material world is created to facilitate the desires of the jiva. Which kind of jiva? The nityabadha jivas. Nityabadha is the conditioned soul. They have the sense of individuality or ahankar, which dictates their sense enjoyment. So sense enjoyment in conditioned state, we cannot have constitutionally. That is not our natural state. But when we are in that state, we think we are the Ishwar, and the Ishwar says, you cannot be Ishwar in spiritual realm. I'll create another, make-believe world for you. Like, a parent takes a kid to uh, amusement park. Here you can drive a car. In the real world, it's too dangerous. You cannot drive. But here you can think you are driving, but actually it's just a amusement park. The Lord is the only enjoyer, all others are enjoyed. The living being are predominated enjoyers. Yes, we are a little superior to Prakriti because we are conscious and Prakriti is not conscious, but we are still not independent enjoyers. We are predominated enjoyers because Ishvara is the enjoyer of both and the master of both. Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti, both Prakriti and Jiva. So those who are eternally conditioned, the Baddha Jivas, they have strong aspirations to enjoy, strong desire to enjoy in the illusion that I am this body mind. To facilitate that, material creation is provided. And it has two purposes. It is both indulging and it is also liberating. The chance to enjoy matter is given to the conditioned soul, and side by side, they are also given the chance to understand their real constitutional position. Yeah, so you can also come out of this universe. So let us see that first of all, this, like we discussed, this chapter is presenting not only a list of avatars, but everything. It is giving us a full map, philosophical map of reality. How does the Lord interact with this world? How do transcendental forms come in this material realm? What is the structure of governance of this world? So what that is all of these things that this chapter is going to teach us. Yeah, you can have a look here. Sri Krishna, his relationship to creation, puruṣa-avatāras, guna-avatāras, manvantara-avatāras, leela-avatāras, yuga-avatāras, shakti-avatāras. So it is basically how the Lord interacts and governs this universe. Yeah, and we saw that it is not, creation is not accidental. Jagrahit Paurusham Rupam. The Lord accepted the Purusha form. The Purusha avatars are the cause of creation. So Creation is not coming from impersonal, unembodied matter, but from a Jagre, Paurusham, Rupam. These two words are so important. They're saying creation comes from a conscious, purposeful divine agency. There is a divine agency which is conscious and which is personal and purposeful. Rupam. Yeah. It is not just that some elements come together. So Paurusham, Rupam are very significant. They present the cause of creation to be conscious, purposeful, divine agency. Agency means the power to achieve something. And the Prakrti, the elements by themselves, they don't have independent creative capacity. Only when the Lord glances, then they are activated. So here the word Sambhutam is mentioned. We'll discuss about that. The Lord, what is the Purusha-rūpa? When we say Lord takes the form of puruṣa-avatāras for creation, does it mean it's a new form? No, it is Sambhutam. It also comes in Sri Ishopanishad, where mantras 12 to 14, Sambhuti and Asambhuti. So that is the concept. Sambhuti means that is independent and ultimate. Asambhuti means that which is not independent, which is not ultimate. So we should worship Sambhuti. So here Sambhuti means it is an eternal form. It is not a new form. So why is it important to understand that the cause of creation is a conscious, purposeful, divine agency? Because we should not end up with wrong philosophies. So first is what is the origin of matter? Bhagavatam says purposeful divine agency. That matter requires a initiating will of the Lord. There is a conscious, purposeful divine energy. So there is a Purusha who glances upon Prakriti and this creation begins. So Bhagavatam says puruṣa-avatāras are the creator, but materialism says that no, matter itself formed into this universe. It's a chance, it's a blind chance. It was just the right conditions favorable for this creation to manifest. And matter is self-originating. So that is the philosophy of materialism. Okay, if that is the how materialism thinks matter originates, and Bhagavatam's way is matter doesn't accidentally or it doesn't help self-origination, it requires the will and agency of Purusha, a divine will and agency. How do we look at the relationship of the Lord with the world? There are different philosophies. Deism means the God created this universe, but then he's not involved with the day-to-day affairs of this creation. So when you offer him an agarbatti, he's not really looking at who's doing what in creation. Don't waste your puja because God is not involved in his creation. That's deism. So we say no, God is very much involved. In fact, he takes multiple avatars. So that is one concept that the Lord creates but is not involved. That's deism. Another idea is pantheism, that this universe is only God. So what are we doing? We are limiting God to this universe. No, God is this universe. God is in this universe, and God is also transcendental to the universe. He has his own dham, his own eternal form, his own eternal leelas. Don't restrict him to the universe. That would be pantheism. But to understand that no, God is in the universe and beyond the universe simultaneously, which means he's immanent, present in the creation, and he's also transcendent at the same time. This is called panentheism. That's Bhagavatam's understanding. And how do we understand the nature of the divine form? Bhagavatam says that divine form is Vishuddha Sattvam. that the divine form existed previous to Mahatattva also, and previous to pure consciousness and bliss. So, but there are other opposing paradigms or philosophies of anthropomorphism and impersonalism. Anthropomorphism says, making a large person only into God, giving material forms a God shape.
Prabhuji, 1 second. What is theism?
Sorry?
Theism and pantheism, are they the same thing?
No, theism talks of God as the origin of the universe. What we are talking of, how is his involvement with the universe? Does he only create and then forget it? That's deism. If he creates and is involved, then that's not deism, it's panentheism. Lord is present in his creation, he's also present in his abode, and he's very much involved with creation. So
This
we
is
are
pantheism.
sorry.
This is pantheism, you're saying. This one.
Okay.
This is pantheism, you're saying. This point.
Yeah, pantheism is to consider the universe only as God.
Right.
Panentheism is to say that the God is in the universe and also beyond the universe, both
Right. Okay.
immanent and transcendent. That is panentheism. Only immanent and limiting God to the universe, that's pantheism. Nature worship, worshipping the universe only as God. Okay, so is this clear? So now we are seeing the three puruṣa-avatāras, the three Vishnus. Let's study more about them further. So, if you remember in the first chapter, the sages had asked these questions. Please tell us about the various avatars, the puruṣa-avatāras and the leela-avatāras of the Lord. So, chapter 3 is answering that. The puruṣa-avatāras first and the leela-avatāras later. So, even in the end of chapter 2, we saw that it was mentioned that Lord takes the form of so many incarnations, right? And he performs those pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. So what are these avatars? So Sutta Goswami is describing those avatars in detail, starting with puruṣa-avatāras. So the form of the Lord is of sambhutam, a very important word. Sambhutam means Bhutam means to exist, and Sambhutam means to continuously exist. There was never a time when the Lord in his form did not exist, which means the Lord is always situated in his Swarupa, or the highest truth, Param Satyam. So the Lord is accepting this form of a Purusha for creating the universes. Is this clear? The Lord takes an eternal Purusha form for the purpose of creation. And this form is not new, it is already always existing. It is Sambhutim. It is a Sambhutam form. And now with a desire to create this world, Lord, by bringing together Mahatattva, Ahankara, and other elements as we'll see, the Lord is doing all of this through the puruṣa-avatāras. And here, Shodasha Kala is also mentioned, 16 primary principles. So we'll discuss this when we come to the later part of this chapter. There are different expansions of the Lord. Amsha, Prakasha, Kala, Avataras. These are different categories of expansions from Krishna. So Kala is a 16th part of the whole. It is Shodasha Kala. So this Shodasha Kala is referring to the first Purusha. Who's the first Purusha? The Mahavishnu, the Karanodakshaya Vishnu. who is lying on the Karan Sagar, from whom creation begins, who glances upon Prakṛti. Right? We'll discuss this in the next verse. So, we understood the purpose of creation. We understood how Sri Krishna takes, the expansion of these puruṣas for the purpose of creation. Those who are fortunate living entities, they catch the truth. We discussed the purpose of creation is both to enjoy matter and also a chance to understand your real nature, your transcendental position, and then to get out of it. So those who are fortunate, they are able to catch the truth and surrender to Vasudev. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante Vasudevam sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. So those who are fortunate, they realize that Vasudeva is everything. They surrender to Vasudeva, and then they also become Nitya Siddhas. They also become liberated and enter the kingdom of the Lord. They never don't need to come back. But those who don't understand this truth about their own nature, they remain merged into matter. Every time there is a new creation, they'll again come back. And when there's destruction, they'll again be unmanifest. Yeah, so this Mahatattva is the starting point of creation. This Mahatattva contains all the ingredients of material manifestations. Material manifestation means from what? From which our cosmos comes. This cosmos is what we see is a material manifestation. Where is it coming from? Mahatattva. It includes all the ingredients, which is the jivas, the gross material elements, the 11 working senses. So this Mahatattva is the original ingredient for creation. And it is present like a cloud in one corner of the sky. So the sky is compared to Brahmajyoti, in which most of the sky is full of unlimited Vaikuntha lokas. And one corner of that spiritual sky has this Mahatattva, which is not the spiritual sky, but the material creation where we are. So it's like it's a very small part of the total cosmos, total manifestation. It is only an insignificant portion of the whole material, of the whole spiritual sky. All these universes are collectively produced by the Karanodakshaya Vishnu, who's also called the Mahavishnu, the first Vishnu, who throws his glance upon Prakṛti to impregnate it. So if you want to understand this in detail, we'll discuss in the coming chapters, but it's also presented in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 5, where the glories of Balramji are discussed. Because from Krishna, first expansion is Balramji. They are not different in spirit, but they are different in body. Balramji is called a Dvitiya Deha of Krishna. From Balramji comes the first Chaturvyu. Now let's look at this picture. So here, what you see, this region is Goloka. From Shri Krishna comes Balramji. From Balramji comes the first Chaturvyu, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyum, Anirudh. So this first Chaturvyu is also in Goloka. Remember. From Shri Krishna, Balramji, from Balramji, the first Chaturvyu. Chaturvyu is the fourfold expansion. And what are the four forms in this expansion? Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh. And the Sankarshan in this Chaturvyu, from that Sankarshan comes Lord Narayan. And where is Lord Narayan? In the Vaikunthas. You see, we've entered a different realm. So the first Chaturvyu was in Goloka. From Sankarshan in the first Chaturyu comes Lord Narayan, who is in Vaikuntha. From Lord Narayan comes the second Chaturyu. Again, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh. Okay. From the second Chaturyu, from the Sankarshan and the second Chaturyu comes Mahavishnu. Is Mahavishnu, where is his situation? Outside the Vaikuntha, beyond the atmosphere of the Vaikuntha planets, which is called the Brahmajyoti, beyond that Brahmajyoti is the Karana Sagar, the causal ocean. That is where the first Vishnu, the Karano, Dakshaya Vishnu or Mahavishnu, resides. He's lying on that ocean of Karana Sagar, causal ocean. From the pores of his body and from his breath, innumerable Brahmands are created. And then he expands himself, Karana Dakshaya Vishnu expands himself into Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu and enters each and every Brahmand. Okay, so there are innumerable Brahmand bubbles like universes emerging from Mahavishnu, Karana Dakshaya Vishnu, and Karana Dakshaya Vishnu expands himself as Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu and enters each and every Brahman. That is why the Brahmans are sustaining. And within every Brahman, it's like a bubble. It is half filled with water. So in the Brahman, there is another type of sagar. It is called Garbhodak Sagar. And on that Garbhodak Sagar is lying Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So when you go to many temples in South India, especially, you see a form of Lord Vishnu reclining, sleeping on an Antashesh, and Brahmaji coming from the lotus, which is emerging from the navel of that Vishnu. So technically, which is that form? It is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu form. Yeah, from whom Brahmaji is on. And that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu expands into Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the third Vishnu, who enters into the hearts of every individual jiva. So when we say we have a Paramatma in the heart, who is that Paramatma? This Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So he is the Paramatma accompanying each individual soul. So these are the three Vishnus, and you see how they are. This is how the Lord interacts with his creation. Everything is so systematic. Okay, so I was saying that more information on this is given in the 5th chapter of the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'll just read a few verses so you will get to know what is the content. This is chapter 5, verse 51 from the Adi Leela of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Outside the Vaikuntha planets is the impersonal Brahman effulgence, and beyond that effulgence is the Karana Sagar. Surrounding Vaikuntha is that mass of water that is endless, unfathomed, and unlimited, the Karan Sagar. The water of Karan Sagar is the original cause and it is spiritual. So Karan Sagar is not regular material water. It is spiritual, it is Chinmay. And sacred Ganges is a drop of that Karan Sagar. So the sacred Ganges in our reality is Chinmay. It is a drop of the Karan Sagar, remember. In that ocean lies a plenary portion of Sankarshan. From Sankarshan come the three Vishnus. He is known as the first Purusha, the creator of the total material energy. He casts his glance over Maya. And where does Maya reside? Maya resides outside the Karan ocean. Maya cannot touch the waters of Karana Sagar. And then it goes on to describe in detail. Maya has two varieties. Pradhan and Prakṛti. But because Prakriti is dull and inert, it cannot actually be the cause of the material world, like we discussed. But Lord Krishna shows his mercy by infusing his energy into the dull, inert material nature. So Pradhan, the beginning point of creation, is just Prakriti. It is matter, it is there. So Prabhupada gives the example of a metal rod, like a fine filament. When you in a bulb, and a lot of light is coming from that filament. So what will you say? Is that light belonging to the filament? No, that is electricity. There is someone in the electricity generation plant, a chief engineer who is planning that, okay, we will generate electricity, we'll supply electricity, it will reach the homes of individual, and when they switch it on, it will enter this filament. So when we look at a bulb, that is Prakriti which is electrified, but that electricity is coming from the Purusha. It doesn't belong to Prakriti. Otherwise, it will just be dead metal. Prakriti, thus Prakriti by the energy of the Lord, because the Lord has glanced, Lord has put his Shakti in it, like the electricity coming from the powerhouse, then that metal rod becomes full of light and heat. Thus, Prakriti, by the energy of Lord Krishna, becomes the secondary cause. Just as iron becomes red hot by the energy of fire. When you put an iron rod into a fire, the iron rod will also become red hot. It will also get the properties of fire. It will burn things. But you leave it for some time away from fire, it will lose those qualities. So the qualities of the red hot iron rod were coming from the fire. Similarly, the quality of Prakriti to create is coming from Purusha. Therefore, Lord Krishna is the original cause of cosmic manifestation. Prakriti is only the secondary cause. This is what we are trying to understand. Just as the original cause of a earthen pot is the potter, so the creator of the material world is the first Purusha incarnation, Karanodakshaya Vishnu. So the ingredients might be there. There might be clay, there might be a potter's wheel, there might be the instruments, but there is no potter. So therefore, the potter is the primary cause and the potter's wheel is the secondary cause, which means Purusha is the primary cause and Prakriti is only the secondary cause. Only after being glanced upon by Karanodakshaya Vishnu does Prakriti become activated. Okay, does this help? The first Purusha casts his glance at Maya from a distance. We have discussed this. Purusha doesn't come in, Vishnu Tattva doesn't come in touch with Maya, Prakriti. It just glances. And thus he impregnates her with the seed of life in the form of living entities. So just like Lord says, Aham Bija Pratap Pita. So Lord is like the father who gives the seed, and Prakriti is like the mother who holds the seed and then gives birth. So Prabhupada uses that analogy. So the reflected rays of the body of Mahavishnu mix with Maya. So it is only the Shakti of the Purusha which is coming in touch with Maya. And thus Maya gives birth to varied universals. Okay, is this clear? So just giving you a little flavor of this. Let's read the second verse now. Anything remaining? 1 second. Yeah, we discussed. Completed, yeah. So let's move to verse 2. Yasyambasi shayanasya yoga nidram vitanvataha nabi hradam bhuja asid brahma vishwa shrajam patihi. A part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe, Which Purusha is this? Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem. And from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. So verse 1 spoke about Karanodakshaya Vishnu. Verse 2 is talking about Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So that stem of the, from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, a stem of lotus comes. Within those stem are 14 planetary systems. Let me share a picture with you, which will make it easy to understand. Yeah. So you see, we are not just studying avatars, we are studying the entire cosmology here. 1 second. So this is the spiritual realm and the material realm. Goloka, on the upper side are Goloka, then Vaikuntha, then Brahmajyoti. And as we discussed, beyond the Brahmajyoti is this Karana Sagar. You see, who is lying in this Karana Sagar or causal ocean? Karanodakshaya Vishnu. And from him, all these infinite, innumerable Brahmandas are coming from his breath, from the pores of his skin. Yeah. And then you see all these small, small bubbles coming from him. Then one such bubble, one such Brahmanda is, we zoom in here on one universe. And you see Garbhodak ocean. Every Brahmanda is half filled with that water. And there, this Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is lying. You see, and from his navel, there is this stem. And on top of the stem is lotus, from which Brahmaji is born. So you see, in the stem are the 14 planetary systems from Satyaloka to Patal-loka. So this is the constitution of our universe. I'm sure you must have, heard something about this before. So 14 planetary systems, you see here it's written as higher, middle, and lower. The higher planets are subtle, the middle planets are both subtle and gross, and the lower planets are gross. So which are considered as the upper planetary systems, as you can see here. First is the topmost is the planet of Brahmaji. It is called Brahmalok, or it is also called Satyalok. Then comes, Tapalok. So on Satyalok, Brahmaji resides, and other exalted beings and sages. They have immense lifespans. They have great knowledge and realization. So Satyalok or Brahmalok is the highest planet in the material universe. Then comes Tapalok. Tapalok, as you can see the name denotes, it is the place of the ascetics, the tapasvis and sages. Those who perform deep meditation and austerity, they reach this planet. And there is no material disturbance. Then after Tapalok comes Janalok. This is also, there are great exalted rishis and sages who reside here. The Chatushkumaras, they reside on Janalok. So, they are again absorbed in philosophical realization, spiritual realization. And there is minimal material desire here. So these are the only 3 planets which survive partial dissolution. So the lifespan of each Brahmanda is the life of Brahmaji. What is the life of Brahmaji? 100 years. So at the end of Brahmaji's life, all these 14 planetary systems are destroyed. The Brahmanda is destroyed, or dissolved rather. But there is also a partial destruction which happens at every night of Brahmaji. And And in that night, all the planets below Janalok, they all are dissolved. So Brahmaji literally has to wake up every day and do creation. So it's not a easy life being Brahmaji. You wake up and you see all that you did, you created is gone. After Janalok comes Maharlok. Maharlok is also, great sages reside there. And they are also absorbed in contemplation on Vedic wisdom. And when there is Pralay, the partial dissolution at the night of Brahmaji, those who are at Maharlok, they have the opportunity to go to the higher three planets. So they can also escape partial dissolution. Everyone who's on Maharlok, they go to higher loks, Tapalok, Janalok, or Brahmalok, according to their capacities. Then comes after Maharlok, where comes Swargalok. Swargalok is, ruled by Indra. This is the realm of Devatas. And you'll find the Gandharvas, the Apsaras, the Devas, all of them here. It's characterized by Atishay Indriya Utsava, extreme sense indulgence. And it is not sinful. It's legalized, cosmically legal sense indulgence of a superior quality. So there is great enjoyment, longevity. Yeah. So that is Swargalok. Then comes Bhuvarlok. Bhuvarlok is between Swarga and Earth. So heavenly realms are called Swargaloka and earthly realms are, our realm is called Bhuloka. Between Bhu and Swar is Bhuvar. It is between, it's the space between earth and heaven. And there are other higher beings than humans like Siddhas, Charanas, Vidyadharas. They are, they reside here. And then comes our planet, Bhu-loka. Bhu-loka, which is our earthly realm. Humans, animals. So even though this is not the highest, our Bhuloka is considered as most favorable for spiritual progress. You remember we discussed because the Devas, they are so absorbed, they don't find a reason to surrender. They're like, life is good. So human life is the perfect opportunity. Therefore, even Devatas in Kali Yuga, they want to take birth in Bhuloka because there's a very easy process to get out of this Brahmand altogether, get out of this samsara for once and for all. So these are the seven upper planets. Okay, is it clear? Then there are the seven lower planets. So lower means doesn't mean they are all hellish or they are bad. Lower just means they are in terms of geography, but still they are very luxurious. Just below Bhuloka is Atala. Atala is people who have mystic powers, they reside in Atala. Then comes Vitala, the powerful mystic beings. A lot of devotees of Lord Shiva, they also reside here. It has rich resources and opulence. Below Vitala is Sutala, where Bali Maharaj, presides. And it is that Sutala planet is personally protected by Lord Vamana. So that Sutala is, when we study Bhagavatam, the episode of Bali Maharaj, its opulence is described greater than that of Swargalok. So although it is a lower planet, it is more opulent than Swarga. Below Sutala comes Talatal, which is the realm of Mayadanav. Known for mysticism, architecture, technology. So, what we call science today, that is present in the Talatala realm. Below Talatal is Mahatal, where the Nagas reside. Below Mahatal is Rasatal, where the Danavas and Daityas, the Rakshasas, reside. They are strong, they are resourceful, but they are against God. That's Rasatal. And the lowest planet is Patal. Again, that has a lot of opulence, but it is devoid of devotion. So these are the 14 planetary systems. And like we discussed, only the top three escape the partial dissolution. All others are dissolved every night of Brahmacharya. So that gives you a perspective of what's happening. So this verse here says, now you know how the 14 planetary systems are within the stem of the lotus. Okay. Upwards, there are better planetary systems. Downwards from the earthly planetary systems are 7 lower planetary systems inhabited by asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. So this we have understood the structure of the universe, 14 realms. And we also discussed the 3 puruṣas.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Madhuri.
Prabhu, then what about the hellish planets? Are they below these planets?
There are some of these are also hellish planets, like we discussed, and there are subterranean planets. So the abode of Yama is not in these 14 planetary systems. It's mentioned that it's somewhere in the southern side of the Brahman, but it is not exactly mapped to one of these 14. So it is there
Okay.
somewhere the southern side. That's all is mentioned.
It's not a part of these 14 planetary systems.
No, the place of
Oh.
Yamraj, that is on the southern side of the Brahman. That's all.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So we saw the 3 Vishnus. First is the Karanadaksha Vishnu who creates Mahat Tattva, the aggregate, the beginning of creation. Second is Garbhodaksha Vishnu who is entering into each and every universe. And third is Kshirodaksha Vishnu who is the Paramatma of every material object. Kshirodaksha Vishnu enters not only our hearts but also every atom. So one who knows these 3 plenary features of the personality of Godhead knows Godhead properly. And thus the knower becomes freed from material conditions of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Okay, so Prabhupada gives an example of, thus electrified by the power of the Lord, material nature at once creates innumerable universes. Just as in due course, a tree decorates itself with innumerable grown fruits. You sow the seed, and in due course of time, there are so many fruits. So similarly, Mahavishnu glances on Mahatattva, and in course of time, so many different forms and varieties of universes emerge. So what is the conclusion we are coming to? Nothing can take place without a cause. We cannot say creation is accidental, Big Bang. No. It is by the will of the Lord. It is by the energy of the Lord. So it is not without a cause, nor is it self-originating. That's Vaisheshika, the theory of atomism. No, it is not that molecules were eternally existing. Before anything, Sri Krishna existed. Aham evasam evagre. Before anything, I existed. That is what the Bhagavatam says. So nothing can happen without a cause. So Karan ocean is the causal ocean. Karan means cause. So those who are, we should not foolishly accept the atheistic theory of creation. The atheist does not believe in the creator and cannot give a good theory to explain the creation. So when we are too focused, what is materialism basically? You're so engrossed in the creation that you cannot see the creator. That is materialism. Theism means to see both the creation and its creator. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. I see this creation, but I see who's controlling it also. So that is Ishavasya Drishti. We should not expect any creative power from the material ingredients. We must believe in the power of the Purusha. Okay. And how does the Lord create? Does the Lord have to put in effort? the Lord has something which is called as Swarupa Shakti or Satya Sankalpa Shakti. Whatever the Lord desires automatically happens without him putting any effort. It is just Lord desires, it'll happen. So the Lord has unlimited potencies, and thus he can act as he likes by perfect planning. Although personally he has nothing to do. He just wishes and it is done. Now, unlike us, we cannot do that. So this is what the Vedas are saying. So what did we understand? That Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into each universe. Yeah. And if you see in the previous chapter, verse 23, let's go to chapter 2, verse 23. There was a mention of Hari Virinchi Hareti, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. So there, who was this Hari who was mentioned? It is the third Vishnu, the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu who was referred to in this verse 23. The maintainer of creation, the predominator of Sattva Gun. You remember we discussed that only Lord Vishnu is untouched by the gunas. Others are touched by the gunas. So there, who was this Vishnu? Now we know his name. He is Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Okay. So what are these? Who are these three Vishnus? The first is Mahavishnu, who is the Atma of entire Prakṛti. Second is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who is the Atma of all the Jivas put together, the conglomerate of all Jivas. The heart, the soul of that is second Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he is the soul of each individual Jiva. So, Karanodakshaya Vishnu is the soul of Prakṛti. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the soul of collective Jivas. And Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the soul of individual Jiva. So that's how they are all soul or Paramatma. Does it make sense? So the Lord lays down the Mahavishnu first. Vishnu, he is lying down in Karanasagar. And he's glancing. As soon as the Brahmans come out, he's glancing at them. As soon as they come out from his breathing. And by that glance, what is he doing? He is making his intention known. Yes, I will that there be creation. That's it. Krishna only has to will, let there be creation. Krishna means Mahavishnu or Karanodakshaya Vishnu. And then from there, Prakriti is energized or electrified, as we see. Okay. So Mahatattva is produced, other elements are produced. Should we discuss now? I'll just show you when we are, because now we are, referring to Mahatattva a lot of times. So it is unfair to not show you what Mahatattva is. Let's look at another picture of the creation. And what is exactly Mahatattva? So this is our depiction of the entire cosmos, the spiritual and the material realms. Starting from the spiritual sky, Goloka, Vaikuntha, and then the the Sagar, Karan Sagar, Shir Sagar, on which Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, Karanodakshaya Vishnu, they are lying. And you see this Vishnu who is lying here, this is Karanodakshaya Vishnu. You see what he is doing? He is glancing. So from his eyes, his glance is presented. Mahavishnu infusing his potency to his external energy, Maya Devi. So when Mahavishnu glances upon Maya Devi, Mahatattva is activated. The gunas become activated. The karmas of the jivas become activated. So first is Pradhan. Think of Pradhan as an unagitated state. The gunas are dormant. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are dormant. They are inactive. When the Lord glances, Pradhan transforms into Mahatattva. Mahat Tattva is where there is variety. You can now differentiate in different elements, and the gunas have become activated. And then Mahat Tattva transforms into Ahankar. And Ahankar, in combination with each of the three gunas, lead to different parts of the creation. Ahankar in touch with Sattva guna leads to mind and devatas. Ahankar in touch with Rajoguna leads to intelligence, our organs, 10 senses. And Ahankar in touch with Tamas leads to the Tanmatras, the objects of the senses: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And they are subtle sense, touch, taste, sight, sound. So you see, these are the basic elements of creation. So everything is produced from Ahankar, which is a transformation of Mahat Tattva, which is in turn a transformation of Pradhan. All starts by the glance of the Lord. So now you also have an idea of what do we mean by Mahat Tattva. Is it clear? So yeah, we are not discussing here in detail. We'll do that in fifth canto. Here the idea is to get a bigger picture. So the Lord Mahavishnu glances, Mahat Tattva and other elements then appear. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is given an instruction: enter into each universe and go to sleep. Not sleep like our sleep. You see here it is said Yoga Nidra, Yoga Nidram Vitanvadaha. So the Lord is in Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is in Yoga Nidra. It is not sleep, it is a state of trance. So Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is entering it and then sleeping for 1 second. Now, and as soon as he enters and sleeps for a second, he says, what is this universe? It is a useless place. He rejects it. What happens? What do you think happens when Garbhodakshaya Vishnu rejects it? He slept, he entered the universe, slept for 1 second, and then he rejects the universe. What will happen? Without the soul, the body will collapse. So the universe is dissolved, it's destroyed. So Srimad Bhagavatam says in the third canto, Kaloyam dvip parardhyakyo nimesha upacharyate av avyakritnasyanantasya hi anadir jagatatmanaha. So, what is one nimesha for Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is equal to the life of Brahmaji. So, he's sleeping for 2 seconds means an entire life of Brahmaji has passed. And then it is time for dissolution of that Brahman. So every Brahman exists for 100 years of Brahmaji, but it is just 2 seconds of sleep of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He says, this is a material place, this is useless. He comes out, the universe collapses within 2 seconds of his sleep. And then he enters a new universe, which again he sleeps for 2 seconds and he finds it to be useless. So that is how creation and dissolution of the Brahmans take place. What is also said here importantly is all of these are, let's read the next verse, third verse. Yasya vyaya samsthanai kalpito loka vistaraha tadvai bhagavato rupam vishuddham sattvam. It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha. But he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence. So yeah, we are saying everything, all this creation in reference to which these puruṣa-avatāras, but they have nothing to do with creation directly. What is the form of these Vishnus? Vishuddham, Shuddha Sattva. Vishuddham Sattva, and it is Urjitam. It is excellent. It is transcendental form. Don't think that these Vishnus are interacting with Prakṛti, so their forms are also material. Their forms are still transcendental. They are completely spiritual, made up of Sat Chit Anand. They are pure Sattva. Yeah, so we saw this, that puruṣa-avatāras are causing this, What is the cause behind this is puruṣa-avatāras. Then we saw the three puruṣas. First, Karanadaksha Vishnu, who is the source of innumerable universes. So first, what did we see? We saw the divine causality. That creation is not caused by, it's not self-originating or it's not accidental. It is jagre puruṣa-rūpam. It is caused by a conscious divine agency, which is purposeful. So first we saw divine causality. Then we saw how that divine cause, does he have nothing to do with this universe? No, he's very much involved. How is he immanent in this universe? At three levels. Karanadaksha Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and Kshirodaksha Vishnu. This is the way in which that divine is immanent in this world. We always speak of Krishna as sarva-vyapi. Maya tadam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. I'm present in my unmanifested form in the entire universe. What is that unmanifested form? How is Krishna present in everything? Paramatma. Three Paramatmas, the puruṣa-avatāras. So, first is Kshirodaksha Vishnu we saw, who is the source of innumerable universes, and he's the creator of Mahat Tattva, the beginning ingredient of creation. Then there is Garbhodaksha Vishnu, second level in which Krishna is present in the whole universe. He's present in each Brahman. Third is Kshirodaksha Vishnu, who is entering every entity. So these are the three ways which present the immanence of the law. First was the divine causality, and then we saw the three levels of divine immanence: divine causality, divine immanence. And we also understood that Deism says that God only created, then he withdrew from his creation. We say no, God creates. Yeah. Jagre Paurusham Rupam, he creates, but he also enters creation through these three Purusha-avatāras. We also saw Pantheism, where God is reduced to this universe. We say no, while entering the universe, he also maintains his original transcendental form. So that is Pantheism. And we also saw the opposing view of materialism, that matter is not self-sufficient. Matter creation is not self-originating. Yeah, so these are opposing theories. Theism, what would theism means? That there is a God who is external to this world. There is a God in heaven. That's theism. But we say no. Bhagavad philosophy is deeper than that. Bhagavad philosophy says Lord is beyond and within, transcendent and immanent. What is that called? That is a philosophy of personal panentheism. Yeah, the whole world is Krishna's Shakti, but Krishna's own original form, his Swarupa, is eternal and independent of this Prakṛti. That is panentheism. He is this universe and he's also beyond this universe. And we also saw that this world is both a place of indulgence and a place of recovery. You choose. Yeah, the creation was arranged by the Lord for us Nitya Baddha Jivas because we desire to separately enjoy from the Lord. So this world gives you a field of enjoyment, or let's call it attempted enjoyment, because Prakriti cannot exploit Prakriti. So it gives us a field for attempted enjoyment. At the same time, it gives us the opportunity to rediscover our Swarupa. Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. It also gives us that opportunity. So let us look at the three Purushas. They are present at different levels. How is God immanent in the universe? In these three ways. So the puruṣa-avatāras are a perfect explanation of the tension between Lord's transcendence and Lord's immanence. Yeah, the Lord the world is existing in the Lord's energy, yet the Lord is eternally, spiritually independent. And this creation is not purposeless. There is a whole map to this reality. Yeah, it's not a punishment, as some religions say that we are just sent here to suffer. No, it's not a jail. Nor is it an illusion, like some other philosophers say, Jagat Mithya. We say, no, it's a place of reformation. If you understand what the reality of the universe is, so we started by saying that chapter 3 presents the metaphysical reality of this world. You understand that, yes, it is designed to accommodate your ahankar while also giving you the mechanism for spiritual recovery. So if you just act by ahankar, your false desire for independent enjoyment, you will stay entangled in Prakṛti, the matrix. Just fulfill your false desires and misuse your free will. But if you come in touch with Shastra, if you come in touch with Vedic processes of Yajna, Dana, Tapa, why does Sri Krishna take avatars? To help us break this loop of our samsara bandhan by Krishna. All of these are Krishna's forms only. Shastra is Krishna, Yajna is Krishna, avatars are Krishna. So this is how the Lord interacts with the world. This is what chapter 3 is presenting. Why do avatars come? To help us break this loop and ultimately surrender to Vasudeva and come out of this whole creation business because it's temporary. Okay. So in the third verse, Srila Prabhupada is saying, yeah, Vishuddha Sattva we saw. Right. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the third chapter, purport to the third verse that virāṭ-rūpa or Vishwa-rūpa is a conception for the neophyte. In our experience, in your experience, have you ever seen a transcendental form? No? Then how will you meditate on something that you have not seen? Can you conceive of something transcendental? We cannot even conceive of Atma. What to speak of conceiving Bhagavān? So for those who find it difficult to conceive of a transcendental form of the Lord, a material conception of God is presented, which is called virāṭ-rūpa, universal form. It is not for devotees, it is for neophytes who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the Lord. Yeah. For materialist, because our experience has only been with material objects. So for us, form means limitation. And we discussed this here or in Ishopanishad? I think we discussed in Ishopanishad that those who try to understand the absolute truth by mental speculation, naiti naiti, the Lord is nirgun, nirakar. Yeah. So what are we doing? We are protecting the transcendental from material forms, but you are also making it completely devoid of any features. Now you're making it empty. So this mantra 14 of Sri Ishopanishad says, 13, that there is a different result obtained by worshipping what is absolute and what is not absolute. And mantra 12 says, if you worship what is asambhuti, you will enter the darkest region, you will enter the darkest regions of this material existence. And if you worship what an impersonal form, you will go to even darker regions. So this is, very relevant to what we are discussing. That somebody who cannot conceive of a transcendental form, what do? Let me see if I have the whole presentation. Yeah, very interesting from, verses 12 and 13 of Ishopanishad, but directly relating to what we are discussing. So there is absolute truth. Now, if you deviate from worshipping the absolute truth, the demigod worshipper, what is the demigod worshipper doing? It is giving something that is a part, a devata is a part of the absolute truth. It is absolutizing the part. Devata is only the ultimate, so that is a mistake. That is a deviation. Worse than that is distortion. Okay, you accept a part as a whole, a devata as ultimate, that is devata upasana. Worse than that is impersonal worship. Why? Because you are abstracting, you are stripping the absolute of all personality. Yeah. So, because somebody who's trying to understand the absolute truth by 90-90, that's called apopathic theology, the process of elimination, that yes, the God has no forms, no qualities, no material attributes. You remove so much that you end up with emptiness. You negate, and God, if in this world we see forms, then God should not have forms. So if you, Prabhupada beautifully says in that negation doesn't mean negation of the positive. And negation, and very beautiful, let me read it for you from that purport. This is, yeah, Mantra 12 of Ishopanishad. Such negative definitions lead one to create a conception of one's own. So if you keep removing attributes, nirgun, nirakar, you keep protecting transcendence by removing material qualities, you will imagine the absolute must be formless and without qualities. So what does Prabhupada say beautifully? Such negative qualities are simply reversals of relative material qualities. You saw material qualities in people of this world? Yeah, they are material qualities, they are relative, and you are negating them and applying it to the absolute truth. But they are still relative. Such negative qualities are simply the reversals of relative material qualities and are therefore also relative. So we cannot apply the opposites of qualities of this world to Krishna, who is transcendental. So you cannot know Lord by this process of 90-90. You will end up with nothing. So you will completely strip divinity of all its attribute, which is more dangerous. Therefore, the destination for these Mayavadis or impersonalists is said to be even darker regions of existence. So we are seeing that if you cannot perceive a transcendental form, then you are given a virāṭ-rūpa to meditate on. Think, see, visualize the Lord in form of matter. Sun, you have seen the sun, you have seen the moon. Think of this beautiful universal body where sun and moon are the eyes of the Lord. The mountains are the bones of the Lord. The rivers are the veins of the Lord. Can you do that? Yeah, that's possible. So that is helping a neophyte conceive of a form because they don't have any experience of a transcendental form and they cannot meditate on or they cannot conceive of a spiritual form. So let us give them virāṭ-rūpa. It is necessary in the beginning to concentrate the mind on the power extension of the Lord. Power extension is it is an virāṭ-rūpa is also a power extension of the Lord. The Lord extends his potency in the form of Mahat-tattva. So, what is Lord? From the Lord comes, he extends himself, his power in Mahat-tattva. So we have discussed energy, energetic are non-different. Shakti, Shaktiman, Abheda. So therefore, potency of the Lord and Lord are simultaneously different and non-different. Shakti, Shaktiman, Abheda. So virāṭ-rūpa is thus
Hare Krishna
non-different
Prabhu. Hare
from the,
Krishna Prabhu.
yes,
Yeah,
Auntie,
sorry.
tell me.
Hey, Prabhu, we say it's very difficult to envision the transcendental form of the Lord, and therefore we give the Virat form.
Hmm.
But we also have the description of Lord Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is supposed to be transcendental, and it is very easily we can envision it.
Sure.
So why do we say that it is difficult to envision the transcendental form of the Lord?
So we'll study in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that those who are purified, they are whose heart is purified, they can meditate on the transcendental form of the Lord. So for you, it might be easy. That is because you have a purer heart. But for a meditator whose heart is not pure, is not free of material desires yet, it's not easy to meditate on a spiritual form, the beautiful form described in the scriptures. They can't. So for them, okay, fine. You find it difficult, start with visualizing a form of matter. So they are given virāṭ meditation, those who still have an impure heart. So depending on different adhikaras, different dharana ashraya is given. Dharana ashraya. Who is the object of your dharana or meditation? To the extent you are purified, you can directly meditate on the transcendental form of the Lord. If you are not, then you'll need support of virāṭ. It's more for yogis, not for devotees. Is
Hare
it
Krishna.
okay?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So we are seeing that Mahatattva is the energy of the Lord. And we also know that energy and energetic are non-different. So in that sense, creation and creator are also non-different. So you can allow the meditator to meditate on the creation and give them the benefit on meditating on the creator. Because of this principle of Shakti, Shaktiman, Abheda. But we know that on an ultimate level, Lord has an eternal form which exists before creation. Means before there was Mahatattva, before there was any material object, Lord's eternal form was always there. It is transcendental. The very same transcendental form of the Lord is manifested by his internal potency. It is coming from Krishna's Antaranga Shakti, Swarupa Shakti. And from the Swarup Shaktis, also all the incarnations are coming. All the incarnations are also of transcendental nature and without any touch of Mahatattva. So, yes, we allow the beginner, the neophyte, to meditate on the virāṭ-rūpa, giving them the benefit that energy and the energetic are not different. But those who are more evolved, they know that before creation happened, Lord had an eternal form. And we should ultimately meditate on that eternal form. Okay. So here we see that this is giving us the idea that all these forms, the forms that we are studying here, the puruṣa-avatāras, they are all transcendental, spiritual. Okay. We saw how this world is also a place of indulgence and recovery both. We don't say this world is meaningless, it is a punishment, or it is illusory, imaginary. No. We say, no, it is according to if you breed your false desire for independent enjoyment, then it'll trap you. If you take benefit of Shastra, avatars, processes of reformation, you will break free of this bondage. So what we are studying here is this cosmology, the puruṣa-avatāras, and the different realms. And Lord taking incarnation, Lord, participate in with his creation. So it is not just cosmology. It is also presenting the psychology of our bondage. This cosmos is a map of the psychology of our bondage. Why does this universe exist? Because we misused our individuality through ahankar. Therefore, we have this cosmos. So it is mapping our psychology. If you come in touch with Shastra, avatars, sadhus, bhakti, they can guide you back to Bhagavān, guide you back to developing or re-establishing your relationship with Bhagavān. And most important is Vishuddham Sattvam Urjitam. These forms of the Lord are pure, transcendental, and Shuddha Sattva. Because these forms existed before creation, they are untouched by material nature. They have no presence of Mahatattva or any of the gunas. So we should not think that, oh, normally people they find it difficult to give a form to God. If God has a form, he must be limited. We say, no, material form limits, but spiritual form reveals the fullness of Bhagavan. So you don't have experience of a spiritual form, therefore you don't know how it is not limiting. Yeah, the problem is material form. But divine form is of an entirely different nature. It is of a different category, Vishuddha Sattva. It is made up of Satchidanand. How can it be limiting? Okay, so we are saving ourselves from going into two extreme position. Nature worship or anthropomorphism. That something great, you will start worshipping that as God. No. Or the other extreme of impersonalism. Just remove all personality from God. Because any form is material. We are saying both of these are wrong. God has a form, but that form is not material, that form is transcendental. And that is, we can access that form through virāṭ-rūpa. Virāṭ-rūpa has a purpose. It's for, neophytes who cannot yet meditate on a transcendental form of the Lord. Yet you can give them a chance to see the power of the Lord through the cosmos. It is like a bridge. You're going from material perception to spiritual perception. Yeah, isn't it helpful if there is a bridge for us from our experience to go to a new experience? So virāṭ-rūpa is that bridge between material perception and spiritual realization. It is teaching us that the universe is not independent of God. All that you can imagine, the sun, moon, mountains, planets, senses, they are all dependent on divine power. Yeah. But later, the purport also clarifies that universal form might be there, but it is not Lord's ultimate spiritual form. That exists beyond creation. That is not touched by Mahatattva or the gunas. So the final object of meditation should be Lord's ultimate spiritual form. The wise do not stop at meditating on the virāṭ. So what are the steps? First, you learn to see the world as you see the world as matter. For those who just are able to see world as matter, give them the next perspective that the world is divine energy. virāṭ-rūpa. Then the Lord as Paramatma, the three Vishnu, the puruṣa-avatāras, the three Vishnus, how are they present in this world as Paramatma? Then we come to Bhagavān, Swayam Bhagavān Shri Krishna. So this is how step by step we go from, cosmology, helping somebody visualize the energy of the Lord in this cosmos to ultimately Bhagavān and Bhakti Rasa. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Manjula.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu,
Dhanavad.
I want to know that human body is made up of so many cells, and every cell contains atom. And as you each and every atom there is Shirodaksha Vishnu,
Right.
presence of Shirodaksha Vishnu.
Correct.
So my question is, how does one prominent soul makes body living, since bodies consist of so many
Mhm.
cells, right? So there are so many souls with Shirodaksha Vishnu, but how come one soul plays a prominent role when the body, like when the soul left the body,
Hmm.
then body becomes died,
Right.
man, body becomes dead. So
Right.
how does it happen? Like
Sure. So yeah, when we
even
say,
in like in basic we see,
hmm,
yeah.
go on.
Yes, I'm saying when we get the cut and when anything burns in our skin, then skin
Hmm.
grows and it heals in some time. So this is also due to cells, right? In our
Correct.
body, there are so many cells,
Correct.
and every cell there is an atom, and atom has a Shirodaksha Vishnu as a living
Hmm.
force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
So how
trying to
does
see,
one soul plays the prominent role? Yes.
so when we say that the the three Paramatmas we discussed, one is the Paramatma of the entire Mahat Tattva. So to give life, to give energy into matter so that creation can begin, that is the role of Karana Daksha Vishnu. So that doesn't mean electrifying a copper rod will not make it conscious. So Prakriti's nature will always remain same. It is dead. It is dead and independent. Because Karana Daksha Vishnu enters it, therefore it can get energized and like a bulb, it can give light. But doesn't mean bulb will become a conscious entity. Whereas we are conscious entity, we are jivas. So for in our body, there might be many atoms, but they are of the nature of Prakriti. Karana Daksha Vishnu is only supporting them in the sense that they are able to function. And we, the Atman, we are conscious. Kshirodaksha Vishnu, enters our heart, Atma and Paramatma. That is a very different relation. Both are conscious. So that is how we see it. Does it answer your question? Haribol?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So, these three Vishnus are at different levels. Their supporting creation is not the same as enlivening creation. So therefore, some atoms
Okay.
will always be matter. So therefore, even if Paramatma is present in them, what does it mean? It is able to work because Paramatma is present. Otherwise, they'll not even be able to combine or function as they are.
Okay.
Hmm.
And so with soul, which Shirodaksha Vishnu is there, soul
Yeah,
as a Paramatma.
correct.
Okay, Prabhu. And Prabhu, my second question is, what is the difference between Golok, Vrindavan Dham, and this Vaikuntha? Many times I heard in family that whenever somebody passes away and they said, okay, it's the Vaikuntha planet.
Hmm.
So is there any difference between both of them, or
Yeah, yeah. As we saw in the, cosmology of the universe, Golok is the highest realm where we find Sri Krishna. Even Goloka has Mathura, Dwarka, and Vrindavan, Gokul. So depending on who's your object of worship, who's your object of reciprocation.
okay,
Whereas Vaikunthas have Lord Narayan present. So that is bhakti in a mode of reverence, Aishwarya Bhav. And in Goloka, there is bhakti with Madhurya Ras. There is love and affection. So both are on different flavors of bhakti leading to different realms. In Tattva,
okay. So
both are Vishnu Tattva, but in Rasa,
mhm.
there is a big difference. So when we
Okay,
try
so
to
when one
explore,
goes to Vaikuntha, shall they come back or what? Like,
No, they'll not come back. That is the flavor of their bhakti. They want to approach the Lord as Narayan. Once you cross once you cross into the spiritual sky, you don't have to come back.
okay.
That could be
And
Vaikuntha
my
or
last, okay, Prabhu. And my last question is also related with that only. Actually, I heard in some lecture that this is the time period when Krishna personally came, like 5,000
Yeah,
years ago. Krishna personally
correct,
came, and 500 years ago, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, like Krishna himself.
correct.
Chaitanya
Yeah.
Mahaprabhu is also Krishna himself. So this is the time that, like after 14 Manvantara, if I'm not wrong, Krishna comes
Mhm.
in cosmic
Right.
calculation. I've forgotten. 14th Manvantara, right? That's
He comes once in a day of Brahmaji. So which
Brahma.
is
Yes.
happening for us, it has happened just 5,000 years ago. Otherwise, day of Brahmaji is very long, thousands of years. There is that calculation coming up for you
I
in
forgot.
verse 5.
Okay.
So Lord appears in his Swayam Bhagavan Rupa only once
Mhm.
in a day, Brahmaji, and that happened to be just 5,000 years before now. So we are very fortunate in that sense.
So I heard in one lecture that those who are practicing devotional service right now,
Mhm.
they can get the abode of Krishna and Vaikuntha as well as per their practices. But after this Kali Yuga
Mhm.
ends, and then again the cycle of Satyug, Dwapar Yug, Treta Yug, Kali Yuga
Correct,
begins.
correct.
Then Jivas won't get Vaikuntha or Golok Dham again. Like, so where they
So
will go then?
what we are getting is access which is provided coming after Sri Krishna's appearance, after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance.
Yes,
So Sri
yes.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us access to prema, which was never available before. So this is a
Okay.
very unique opportunity to have, Raga Nuga Bhakti in the mood of Srimati Radharani. This is only because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has opened that treasure house. Earlier, it used to be the domain of very, very rare people who are, steeped in bhakti. It was not even discussed publicly. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made it accessible to everyone. So in that sense, yes, we have a very unique opportunity. Otherwise, we'll go back and new age starts and we'll lose that access.
Okay. So after this cycle ends, like after Kali Yuga ends, then those who are practicing, they won't get Golok Dham.
Yes.
Like again,
I mean, they
Satyug,
can
Dwapar, Yug,
get, but
Treta Yug.
there is not going to be as clear and easy a path as given to us by Sri Chaitanya
Mhm.
Mahaprabhu. Earlier, the highest understanding, even to go beyond dharma, artha, kam, moksha, that was also not accessible. To present prema as a purushartha, that was done by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So
Yeah.
we take the appearance and contribution of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu away, and what you have is moksha. So yes, that will remain. That will be bhakti in Shant or Das Bhav.
Okay. And Prabhu, in Golok Dham, as you said, Mayapur Dham is also there.
Hmm.
Yes. So those who are worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like 100%, like with full devotion, will they go to Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu will still exist there in Goloka Dham and Mayapur, or
Both are they're not different, Navadvip and Vrindavan. It is depending on the flavor of bhakti of the individual. So there is no high or low. Don't think of it in a material concept.
yeah.
According to the nature of one's worship, that's where one will go. So if one is a devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who is worshipping Sri Chaitanya, they'll go to that Navadvip Dham. So it is very personal. You don't have to compare. Oh, I also want Golok. It's your individual rasa, and everyone is satisfied in their individual rasa with Krishna. They are not comparing with others. So this question of why this and not this, this is meaningless. What is your individual rasa? That's it, which your guru will reveal to you. That's all that matters to you.
Okay.
It's not like, and we have 10 colleges available for admissions. No, that want to compare which is the best, which is the ranking number 1, 2, 3. That is our material concept we are applying on spiritual topics. According to our rasa, that is the destination we achieve. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.